Hi again, it's Willis, Kiwi Scrapper from New Zealand. Welcome back to part 2 of this this magic book that I've done for a swap with Irene. That's Seriously Scrapping here on YouTube, and this is for the swap hop, the monthly swap hop. She's hostessing, and that's called C.A.S.H, which is Crafters Army Swap Hop. Yep. So international people are welcome. Of course, I'm international because Irene is in Australia and I'm in New Zealand. So I've done this for Irene. It's all handwritten. This is part 2. You can watch part 1 to see all the beginning of it. I'm just showing the front cover. Oops, that's the tie that goes around the book, which I've marked the page. I don't know how I've marked the page, but I have. Oh, what have I done there? Oh yeah. Right. I've got all caught up here. I don't know what I'm doing. Where am I? Okay, that's the page. Finally. There you go. So this is the page that I ended part 1 on. That's the spell of the day, which is spell for grounding your energy, which is pretty good actually. To stabilise your energy, fill a small jar with soil, then call on Mother Earth by chanting, Mother Earth, solid one, kissed by rain, wind and sun, bring stable balance unto me, as I will, so mote it be, which means so might it be. Keep the jar close by in your purse or at home or in the workplace, and nervous energy will no longer be a problem. There you go. Who knew that? Not me. Okay, so here we go into woven magic, and this actually, I put here part of a saga where 2 sisters wove the most a beautiful white linen shirt with gold embroidery on it for what is it? It was intended for Paul, Helga's son, Earl Harold, but oh no, sorry, it was intended for. Don't worry. Don't worry about who it was intended for. It was intended for one guy who was obviously the Earl, but his younger brother found it and he wanted it, and against all their protests and their crying and their weeping, he put it on and he died in agony because they had woven poison into it. It was meant for his older brother. See here it says, this is part of the Norse saga translated into English. The sisters pulled off their bonnets, tore their hair and said if he put on the garment his life would be at risk. Though they were both in tears, he did not let that stop him. But no sooner was the shirt upon his back than his flesh began to quiver and he began to suffer terrible agony. He had to go to his bed, and not long after that Harold died. And then I've put here the end of this part of the saga. Well, there you go. It was intended for Paul, his older brother, and obviously the sisters wanted the younger brother in charge. And we're going to kill the older one. Good heavens, isn't it shocking? Magic man here. Lovely raven here with the thing nevermore. Magic of ravens. So this is all about the magic of the raven banner that the Vikings went into war with. Over here we've got the spinning magic. And the goddess of spinning is actually spinning magic into she checks out every household, and women in those days, of course, the wives and the daughters, they learnt spinning and weaving, and that's what their days were full of, spinning, weaving and cooking. And they spun all the cloth that was for their clothing, for their husbands, their children's clothing, for their blankets, for their curtains, for whatever they needed, for their bedding. That was all spun by them. And the goddess of spinning used to go around once a year at a certain month every year, which I think was May, look at all the households and see how much, whether they had a diligent spinner or whether there was a lazy spinner. And the diligent spinners got rewarded by good luck and a good harvest for their husbands and all this, and the bad lazy spinners, well, they didn't. Yeah, it says here, spinning is connected with fate and with magic. The goddess of spinning inspected spindles and distaffs of women of the household of mortals at midwinter, which is around May, I think, rewarding families of industrious spinners with good luck. and lazy spinners with disaster for the coming year. So it actually paid you to be a good spinner, really, in those days. Not a lazy spinner. This is all about magic, woven magic in childbirth. Woven red thread is used in medical applications, being used to bind off the umbilicus of the newborn baby, or to tie packets of herbs to an afflicted body part to encourage magical healing. And if a woman is bleeding heavily after childbirth, these can be placed onto the lower abdomen to staunch the flow of blood by magical application. This is a vola wand. They all carried wands. They weren't, wands that you waved in the air. They were sticks that had gems put onto them and stuff like that. These are the Norse who also did magical weaving for fate, and they guarded the world tree of life. Over here, I've put some throughout the book. Occasionally, you'll find gems that I've put in, so I've just glued in those gems there. Circle of healing runes, amulets, and curing stones, and laying on of hands. Oops, got a picture down there. Over here we've got for fevers, and honey is used for wounds, and leek and garlic, blah blah blah. So I've got all the different herbs and things that they use. This is the 9 herb charm. I've only put pictures of 4, but it is 9 herbs for that charm. Over here there's Viking oath, which they said before they went into battle, and this one says, this was said in the halls. These serve to remind us to always be grateful for our lives here in Midgard, which is the land of humans, the world of humans. We will carry the memories of those before us and pass our heritage onward for the generations to come. Hail the gods, hail the ancestors, may you be prosperous and know peace. Poem of magic, Viking protection prayer up there. This is a love chant. Think of me, I think of you, love me, I love you. A love spell. I put a little dragonfly up here and a heart there. And these are Viking oaths and magical properties of rainwater. This is a snake charm up there, which hopefully none of us will need. People in Australia might need it. This is all witch's code, which is like bat wing actually is holly. Blood of Cronus is cedar. Blood from a head is a lupin. Bloody finger is a foxglove, and so on. So I fussy cut some bats and put them up there. And the stamps up here, which is on every page of the book, is a stamp of mine that I got not too long ago, a few weeks ago on Trade Me, which is our local New Zealand eBay. And I think it cost me $6.50. No, $14, something like that. It was very good for this. Got all the different old herbs in here that we still have now that can be mixed up. This is casting instructions for love prayer for the Norse god spells. So there's a Vola witch casting it, and there's a man and a woman who are obviously in love. And this is the love. You do this right before going to sleep in your own bed, and you chant it 3 times. And at the end of it all, I put a little pink heart and a gem. And over here we have casting instructions for a warning spell. So there's a Vola witch who looks very much as if she's casting for a warning spell. And it says, this spell will make non-witches and witches leave you alone. Well, we certainly want that. Over here we have a Norse good week spell, then there's a prosperity spell down here. This tells you what to do and how to do it. More flowers and herbs up here and some crystals. This is the use of herbs and plants in magic. This is the Ogham calendar, which is an ancient calendar, which is like for nature, for trees. This is, the seasons for when the trees come out. This is talking about the Bifrost Bridge, which is a divine bridge, a link between human and gods. And it was in the form of a 3-stranded rainbow that red fire, green water and blue sky, and the gods came across that bridge every day to look at the land of mortals and see what was going on. This is a funeral prayer, which is for Vikings. Lo there, so I see my father. Lo there, so I see my mother and my sister and my brothers. Lo there, I do see the line of my people back to the beginning. Lo, they so call to me. they bid me to take my place among them in the hallowed halls of Valhalla, where the brave shall live forever. That's a Viking funeral prayer for those who died in battle and went to Valhalla. This is all about the cursed sword. Very interesting reading about that one. Sword that was cursed, because all these things were made by dwarfs, these magic things. The dwarfs were in charge of all that kind of thing for the gods, and that particular one they cursed because the man tricked them, and he lived to regret that. This is all about Beowulf, which some of us might know because we might have seen the film about him, the Beowulf saga. That's up there. Love this picture. Isn't it just gorgeous, isn't it? Look at that. Love that. I was going to stick some real feathers, these feathers on here, but I thought it might look a bit messy, so I didn't. So I've just stuck two here. This is the end of the book. It's the spell work of the gods. Every god does different spell work, and it is important to know which god to call upon when casting a spell. So each god here gives things. And I put here, this list of spell work of gods is not a complete list. And it just goes on to say that. So that's just, it's a very small list, because there's, as I said, there's like hundreds of them. We're so lucky that we only have one. And we only pray to him. This is a picture, great, I love this picture. It's two eagles, but with human heads. And this one is dark magic, and this one is light magic. And over here is the goddess Iduna, who gives out to the gods to keep them eternally young, gives them out apples off a magic apple tree that keeps them young, and only she can give them out. If anybody else touches them, I don't know what happens, but that's probably guarded. I think it's guarded by that eye, that big eye at the front. She's in charge of it, but it's actually the guardian is the eye. Over here, this is Nerthus, goddess of earth, nature, and fertility. And these are the different ones. So this is, again, this is just all their spell work, that if you're doing spell work and you call on them, and some of them I put a warning beside them. This one says, very unpredictable, and she should be called upon in spell work with great caution, if at all. So there's a bit of a warning there. That's Odin with his ravens. He walked around with ravens, 2 ravens and 2 wolves. And the ravens were magical and flew to the world of humans every morning, and came back every evening and let him know what was going on. So, here we've got everything. There's the Valkyries here, and of course the Valkyries were the spiritual female warriors who chose who was going to die in battle, and then collected their bodies afterwards, and then they came to life in the hall of Valhalla, and they fought in training every day, ready for the last day of the final battle of Ragnarok, where they would fight with the gods. Okay, so this is all just still spell work. And this is the last page. And for some reason it went a lot shorter, probably because the book is so thick. But I love it. It's just so old and ancient looking. And I put here a picture of 2 celestial spiritual beings. They are like divine beings of light and everything that's good and nice in the world. Aren't they beautiful? So I thought that was a nice picture to end with. But on the cover here, I put Fenrir, that huge magical wolf, who actually, along with his brother, the sea serpent, the giant sea serpent Jormungandr, is actually responsible for the end of the world, Ragnarok. So there, that's him. And that's the end of the book. There's that the rune, the Viking rune, the helm of Or, which is a rune of protection. So there, I've got part 2 finished it. I'm so really pleased with this book. I love it. I've always been interested in Norse mythology, so this has been good for me. And it's been interesting. And I plan at some stage to do a book of my own. Not exactly like this, but, similar type of thing. So that just winds around it and ties up again. And I'll bid you all a goodbye. And I hope you enjoyed. There we are, the guardian of the fountain of youth. I think I'd rather grow old than face that. Yeah, I'll say goodbye now, and I hope Irene likes this. Thank you, everybody. Bye.